There are beautiful women in every era. There are stylish women in every era. There are famous women in every era. And yet, when we talk about 90s supermodels, there's a tone shift. It's not casual admiration, it's reverence. Naomi, Cindy, Linda, Christy, Claudia, Kate. We don't just remember their faces, we remember their presence. We remember their walk. We remember how they look stepping off a curb in denim and a white tank top. And somehow, no matter how many influencers rise, no matter how curated Instagram becomes, no matter how perfectly styled today's it girls are, something about that era still feels untouchable. So the question is, why? Why do 90s supermodels feel so effortless? Why do they still define cool girl? And why do so many of today's it girls feel flatter in comparison? This isn't about beauty, it's about culture, scarcity, image control, and the psychology of effortlessness. The 90s supermodels existed in a pre-social media world. You didn't see them daily, you didn't know what they ate, you didn't see their get ready with me's, you didn't watch their routines, and you didn't hear their opinions constantly. They only appeared in controlled, elevated contexts. Runways, editorial spreads, campaigns, and award shows. They were mediated, and mediation creates mystique. Scarcity increases perceived value. Today, access is constant. Mystique cannot survive oversharing. The 90s supermodel wasn't relatable, she was aspirational and distant. And distance is powerful. The 90s supermodels existed in a pre-social media world. You didn't see them daily, you didn't know what they ate, you didn't see their get ready with me's, you didn't watch their routines, and you didn't hear their opinions constantly. They only appeared in controlled, elevated contexts. Runways, editorial spreads, campaigns, and award shows. They were mediated. And mediation creates mystique. Scarcity increases perceived value. Today, access is constant. Mystique cannot survive oversharing. The 90s supermodel wasn't relatable, she was aspirational and distant. And distance is powerful. When we look at off-duty 90s supermodel style, a white tank top, straight-leg jeans, leather belt, sleek loafers, oversized blazer, black sunglasses, there was repetition. They wore the same silhouettes, the same proportions, the same neutral palettes. Consistency builds identity. Today's style is often trend responsive. Micro aesthetics rotate weekly. 1 week clean girl, next week mob wife, then ballet core, then office siren. The 90s supermodels were not chasing aesthetics. They embodied one. And that stability reads as confidence. There's a structural difference. 90s supermodels were muses. They were interpreted by designers, photographers, and stylists. There was collaboration and hierarchy. Today's it girls often function as their own creative directors, marketers, publicists, and content producers. That changes the energy. When someone is constantly self-documenting, the performance becomes visible. And once performance becomes visible, effortlessness dissolves. The 90s supermodels looked effortless because the effort was invisible. There was infrastructure behind them. There were teams shaping the narrative. But culturally, it read as natural. So let's get into why today's it girls can feel a bit flat. And this is not an attack, it's very much structural. Today's it girls are operating inside algorithm culture. Algorithms reward novelty, volume, constant reinvention, reliability, and speed. But icon status requires the opposite: restraint, consistency, scarcity, and time. When someone posts daily, shares everything, pivots aesthetics constantly, and explains their choices, mystique disappears. And mystique is half of the allure. Today's it girls are hyper visible. The 90s supermodels were selectively visible. There's a big difference. I think another really important component is that even though they were young, they projected adulthood. There was polish, there was composure, there was sensuality without infantilization. Today's it girl culture often blends irony, youthfulness, and hyper-trend awareness. There's a wink, there's self-awareness. The 90s supermodel didn't wink. She didn't signal that she was in on the joke. She was committed to the image, and the commitment was powerful. So how can we recreate that energy today? Not copy the outfits, recreate the psychology. Step 1, choose your silhouette and repeat it. Pick your go-to jean silhouette, blazer cut, and shoe profile, and repeat it. Step 2, limit your palette. Neutrals anchor identity. Black, navy, cream, camel, white. Repetition builds recognition. Step 3, reduce aesthetic hopping. Stop chasing microtrends. Ask, does this align with my long-term image? Step 4, create scarcity in your own presentation. You don't need to post every outfit. You don't need to explain every purchase. You don't need to document every shift. Let people fill in gaps. Step number 5, commit. The 90s supermodel committed to the look. No irony, no constant disclaimers, no aesthetic hedging. Commitment reads as confidence. Now let's get into the psychology of effortlessness. Effortlessness is a performance of non-performance. It signals, I didn't try, I just am. But in reality, it requires editing, discipline, repetition, taste development, and restraint. The 90s supermodels didn't look effortless because they didn't care. They looked effortless because their aesthetic choices were narrow and refined. They weren't constantly experimenting, they were refining constantly. Refinement reads as ease. Experimentation reads as effort. And here's why we'll never replicate that era, and that's okay. The 90s were a specific media environment. Limited access, centralized culture, fewer icons, more gatekeeping. Today is decentralized, more democratic, more accessible, more chaotic. We won't recreate that exact mystique, but we can reclaim elements of it. Restraint, editing, consistency, and selective visibility. So how do we actually dress like a 90s supermodel without looking costumey? If you've determined that the 90s supermodel aesthetic aligns with your personal style, this is the ultimate guide to feel and look like your own personal it girl and 90s supermodel icon. So the first thing we need to clarify is that 90s supermodel look was not about minimalism. It was about clarity, and there is a difference. Minimalism can feel sterile, clarity feels intentional. The goal is not to strip your wardrobe down to nothing. The goal is to eliminate visual confusion. You can do this by number 1, building a silhouette uniform, not a capsule wardrobe. 90s off-duty style worked because proportions were consistent. You rarely saw competing volumes, trendy cuts, or hyper-feminine detailing. Instead, you saw structure balanced with ease. Start here. Choose your pant shape. Pick one primary shape and commit for a season. Examples: high-rise straight-leg jeans, relaxed full-length trousers, slightly slouchy 90s denim, cigarette ankle pant, very Carolyn Bessette Kennedy coded. What to avoid: ultra wide one day, skinny the next, cargo the next. That reads as trend responsive. Repetition builds identity. Next, choose your top proportion. The 90s formula was simple. If pants were relaxed, top was fitted. If pants are tailored, top is simple and close to the body. Key pieces: a ribbed tank top, thicker strap, not flimsy, fitted long sleeve, slightly boxy white tee, not oversized streetwear, and a fine knit crew neck. The fabric weight matters. Thin fabric ruins the illusion. Look for cotton with density, ribbing with structure, and knits that hold shape. Effortless never looks flimsy. Next, master soft structure. 90s supermodels didn't look sloppy. Even when casual, there was subtle tailoring. The blazer wasn't tight, but it had shoulders. The coat wasn't dramatic, but it had weight. Invest or thrift or secondhand in a structured wool coat in camel black or charcoal, a masculine cut blazer, a leather jacket that hits at the hip, not cropped trendy. Avoid drapey waterfall cardigans, paper-thin trench coats, and overly oversized pieces that swallow your frame. Structure is equivalent to adulthood, and adulthood is cool. Next, eliminate visible trend markers. This is where most people fail. You can't look timeless if you're signaling the year. You need to remove excessive hardware, visible logos, trend-specific shoes, and viral silhouettes. The 90s look worked because it wasn't self-aware. If your outfit screams 2026 Pinterest board, it's not effortless. Ask yourself, will this look dated in 3 years? If yes, it's trend language. Next, accessories are understated with intent. 90s supermodels wore very little, but what they wore mattered. Think big sunglasses, slim, not novelty, a leather belt, a simple shoulder bag, small gold hoops or nothing, and a minimal watch. Avoid overlayering jewelry. Today's it girls often compensate with styling. The 90s look relies on restraint. Next, we have hair and grooming, which is half the look. Effortlessness is often grooming. Hair should be natural texture but polished, blowout with movement, slight bend, not beach waves, nothing overly done. Your makeup should be skin first, defined brows, neutral lip, and minimal highlight. The 90s supermodel face was matte, controlled, and adult. Avoid overly dewy glass skin, heavy contour, TikTok-coded makeup trends. Your face should not compete with your outfit. And last but not least, we have color discipline. The 90s supermodel palette was black, white, camel, navy, chocolate, gray, and occasional red. They didn't live in pastels or neon. If you want effortless, limit saturation. High saturation reads youthful, muted tones read mature, and maturity reads cool. And as a final tip, stop trying to be interesting. And this is the hardest part. The 90s supermodel look isn't about being visually interesting. It's about being visually stable. Today's culture rewards novelty, but true cool often looks slightly boring at first glance. White tank, black trousers, leather belt. The interest comes from fit, fabric, proportion, confidence. If your outfit is trying too hard to communicate personality, it stops feeling effortless. Let your presence carry it. So in conclusion, maybe what we're really responding to isn't the clothes, it's the coherence. The 90s supermodels felt like they existed inside a fully formed image, not an evolving feed. They weren't optimizing for engagement, they were embodying an archetype. And archetypes endure longer than trends. Today's it girls aren't necessarily less beautiful or less stylish. They're simply operating in a culture that makes mystique difficult. Effortlessness requires space, and space is rare now. But individually, we can choose it. We can choose repetition over reinvention, editing over excess, presence over performance. And that might be the closest we get to that type of cool again. Thank you so much for watching and sticking around for the entire video. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!